It was December 18th, 1997. Chris was going home for the holidays, coming back from LA, stopped in Chicago where he had an apartment and my brothers lived there. But he was going home to my parents who kind of still thought, at least believed, even though they probably didn't truly believe that he was in recovery or at least being sober. And he knew he would have to kind of behave himself. So he just blew it out in Chicago and just took, had a opioid overdose. And I was, that next day, I lived in Connecticut and I was in a friend's office that day. Actually, he was a friend of mine from college and he had some entertainment industry experience. And we were just talking about some kind of fun stuff we could do, like a charity event or something that we would bring Chris and some of his SNL buddies in and do something really fun and maybe a broadcast thing. And he always had a TV on his desk and he had CNN playing. It was muted while we were meeting, but it was on. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw this flash of Chris on the TV and I turned over to turn up the volume, not thinking really anything. Like at that point, I'm pretty used to seeing my brother on TV. So I'm like, oh, what's he doing now? And I turned it up and the screen goes to his apartment, the John Hancock building in Chicago. And the anchor is saying that we just heard that Chris Farley died of a drug overdose. That's how I heard. And I'm like, you always knew that was a possibility, but you didn't believe it. And, again, I'm that old. I don't even know if I had a cell phone, but I called home to Madison and my dad picked up the phone. And as soon as I heard his voice, I knew,
Your dad had heard.
Oh, yeah. They were looking for me. They couldn't find me because I was out. We didn't have immediate access that a cell phone gives us. So they were trying to find me. And I think I was probably maybe 3 miles to my home from this guy's office. I don't remember that drive at all. Then all of a sudden, I had Access Hollywood calling me like 4 times. Can we get a statement? I'm like, no, 11 o'clock, they're knocking on my door with a film crew. I'm like, I told you no. And, my first thought was, oh my gosh, how am I going to deal with this? Like, this is so public and so unique. And I got to kind of create the message to protect not just Chris, but also our family, and the shame and all that stuff. Like all that stuff was going through my mind instead of processing this. 2 days later, we had a funeral in Madison, Wisconsin with the Mount Rushmore of comedy, there and tons of people. Danny Aykroyd, Sandler, John Goodman, who else was, George Wyeth. Whole bus came up from Second City. And thank God for them. I just love them all. And they were there for us.
I think about them and other comedians, and I wonder if Chris's journey and death caused any of them to take a look at their own addictions or behaviors. And I wonder if that caused a change in any of them.
I spent an awful lot of time when I did have the opportunity to talk to them, because they felt the same way everyone does when this happens to them, whether it's celebrity or not, is the guilt. And I could have done something. He was my friend. I could have done more. It's like, no, I had to tell them, no, you couldn't, because we were his family and we couldn't either. I mean, you couldn't have saved him. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we could have done, but I don't think they were talking about that. No, let that go. I have to, because we have to too. That will keep us in a dark place for a long, long time. One last thing is our father died a year after Chris. And that's more like most people's loss. After 6 months, nobody really asked me about my dad anymore. But I would love to talk about it. Remember your dad did this, but that's pretty much common with most people. But with Chris, there's not a day goes by that somebody asks me or says their story. And he is as alive because of that. Or, as I say, because of the book and the work I'm doing, I have a better relationship with my brother now than ever when we were alive. And that is a gift and a blessing. Who gets that?